Hello, Fractured Protagonist here. Today I wanted to discuss the idea of suffering, specifically the mental and emotional suffering that people go through on a daily basis. Suffering is part of the human condition. Aside from any physical suffering faced on the battlefield of life, we deal with an invisible enemy. More than anything, the suffering we endure comes from our minds more than it does from reality. The philosopher named Seneca said this. This means that the battle we face on a daily basis has more to do with our perceptions or perceived threat rather than any actual threat that might be physically in front of us. It is part of the idea that fear itself is an antagonist that we have to will ourselves to conquer to overcome any adversity in life. Suffering can come in many forms. It can come from a death of a loved one, living with a disease, the loss of friendships, or losing a home. The real struggle comes from how we are able to deal, or better yet, cope with any of these given situations. More than anything, the first thing that can manifest could quite possibly be the emotion of anger, followed by a question or a statement. Things such as, why did this happen to me? Or, this isn't fair. At those initial moments, it feels like the weight of the world is crushing us, like Mother Nature herself is condemning us for the bad choices we made in our lives. Some of you might even feel that life has cheated you out of anything good worth having. These reactions are typically normal to such life-changing occurrences. They can bring about a whole host of negative effects to one's mental, emotional, as well as physical state. But one small change can last a lifetime and can cause a domino effect of positivity. The idea of Stoicism is defined as an ancient Greek Roman philosophy focused on living a virtuous, resilient life by using reason to control one's perceptions and responses. That we must distinguish between what we can and can't control and cultivate virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance to achieve inner peace and happiness despite life's hardships. It's less about overriding raw emotion and more about overcoming those initial overwhelming temperaments, choosing to become more rational and therefore logical in the face of any traumatic event is the goal. This is probably the most difficult obstacle to overcome for anyone facing any current hardships in their lives. But learning to see them as stumbling blocks rather than immovable disasters can help one focus their energy into more manageable situations. Despair can often lead to feelings of resentment. If left unchecked, can eat away at our core and our very souls. At this point, we start to question why we did what we did. Our own morals take a back seat to intrusive thoughts. These intrusive thoughts can lead to potentially irreversible impulsive behaviors and decisions that can be detrimental to any next steps we were going to take towards a more rational way of life. Despair has a way of distracting us from the very reason why we are on the road to change in the first place. Course correction and steering ourselves back towards the transformative path would then have to take place willingly. All the pain and fear one experiences has to be molded into resilience, a resilience that becomes a mindset towards determination filled with discipline. Of those who have expressed their exhaustion just from existing, most people see this as a red flag because it sounds very severe to them and are ready to sound the alarm. They jump to conclusions and assume that these individuals want to give up on life and just disappear. But feeling exhausted by daily living just means that they want to cut through all the noise, that they want the peace and quiet that they deserve. They just want to cut out all the performative functions that life demands from them and just want an ounce of sincerity. To them, sincerity is honesty without judgment, the opportunity to be themselves without prejudice. Stoicism can offer this by allowing the sufferer to pause, take a breath, and assess the situation. Taking a moment to analyze the situation offers clarity and a path to react from a more constructive and therefore logical point of view. Acceptance is key in the path to control. Control over our destructive emotions, control over our actions and judgments to otherwise uncontrollable external events. Just like anyone, I myself find it difficult to practice controlling my own emotions when traumatic events take place. That's just human nature. Humans are first and foremost emotional creatures. We operate on instinct, which leads to the onset of emotions. These emotions are directly related to the current event being experienced at that exact moment. Events that can have a lasting impression on us that have a possibility of swallowing us whole, if we allow it, that is. I've discussed the topic of fear and anxiety before and how to identify them in order to move past what triggers them. This is part of the mental and emotional suffering we endure daily. The philosophy of Stoicism can be used as a tool, not to fix the problem per se, but to adjust or fine tune how we ourselves perceive these emotions. It reminds us to better accept the things we cannot change, but to also change the things that we can, namely our approach towards the triggers. Adjusting our point of view will allow us to see clearer and therefore adjust our reactions to them. Another piece of philosophy which originates from Stoicism is called memento mori. This means remember that you have to die. There is more to living than just the suffering of the world. Don't live a life filled with worry and doubt before you die one day. Reframing how much value we put into traumatic events can help us focus our energy inward and allow us to navigate our darkest mindset into a more positive outcome. We can then start to see things from a more practical framework and start thriving and living more stress free. Anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest. If any of this resonated with you, know that you're not alone. Consider subscribing, liking, and leaving comments below about your own life experiences. That would be awesome. This has been Fractured Protagonist reminding you guys to keep it simple. Talk to you guys later.